This coffee is stronger than your password.
What is cybersecurity, Oli?
Cybersecurity is everything.
Blah, blah stuff, right?
TrustNoOne.
Yeah. You violate the law. Catch you, then they put you in jail, and then you start working for them.
I'm a crew, so you can trust me, and then I'm gonna go to you.
TrustNoOne.
Well, you're doing the bad thing, but you will not be punished for that.
And you would even be paid for that.
Some USB stick penetrated in your...
Did you know that average attack, it takes 4 to 6 months? They hack everything they could hack because they always find a monetization way. The real thing is that hackers are also people. They go to office, they have breaks, holidays, vacations, bonuses. Black market of cyber attacks is so structured right now. I mean, who is interested to hack us? We're small. It's never too early to start caring about your cybersecurity. And it's never too late.
Hello and welcome to the ZeroTrust Club.
Hi, welcome to the ZeroTrust Club.
We're going to talk about some serious stuff, like, companies pay money for getting PR activities, for getting advertising, for getting some other services. But do you know that companies pay to be hacked?
Absolutely. This is our business.
So this guy is being paid to hack into companies. Like, it sounds really fun. Like, do you have a hoodie? I mean, even I have a hoodie. Like, where is your hoodie made?
I'm trying to look like not a hacker.
And this is true. Exactly. One of the best thing they can do is you just look like a very smart person, have the glasses, have the lumberjack t-shirt and nice haircut, purely shaved face, and then you can go and say like, hey, I'm your new teacher, or I'm your new whatever.
Yeah, we call this social engineering. This is a manipulation of people behavior. Roughly the half of any penetration test engagement, when we are asked to hack the company and tell how we did it and explain how they could improve, not to make it happen in the future. So the majority of this work is to manipulate people, despite we are asked to attack the technological landscape, like websites, mobile applications, the office equipment and all this stuff. 50% of the job done is actually done with the help of people who work there, right? So social engineering, it's important. It's very important. And, we say that people are the weakest link in cybersecurity. And it's kind of partially true, but also true is that the people are the least invested part of cybersecurity. And this is the real issue, because we are people, naturally we make mistakes, we have emotions, etc. And it's easy to work with that for a prepared social engineer who understand the psychology and who have patterns how to build, the conversation that way that the person would do something which hacker needs it to do.
Right. And you mentioned about the word pen testing, or you said penetration testing.
Pen testing is not about testing the pens. Yeah.
You stole my joke.
Sorry for that.
But then they're going to joke about penetration testing. So the reality is that the best company actually pay money to the hackers to hack them. And why would they do that? Just to test their security levels and know where the weak points are and then fix them. Yeah, I absolutely agree that one of the weakest parts in defense are the people, right? So your employees. And often companies invest very little resources into actually training their employees and making them be prepared for those attacks and for those hackers penetrating into the office or in a restaurant or whatever they are, and just trying to do some interaction with them to either gather some information or to make them do some stuff which would result in cyber attack and lots of money and reputation. When companies start to sing about doing this pen testing, right?
Yeah. In fact, this is a very interesting part. When companies first think about the pen test,
maybe after they're being hacked. So that's one option, which is the worst.
Right. You know the statistics, right? So in fact, if we simplify the things, what we see, it's basically there are two big cohorts of companies. The first cohort is when something went really bad, when they felt what it is like to be hacked and to feel the consequences.
It feels really bad.
Yeah, and to work with these consequences, and it usually has a very long trail in terms of duration, right? So you First you fix the things, then you speak to your customers, to your peers, you explain that, yeah, we had a hack, you explain the scope and the impact of this hack, etc., etc. Then you repair your reputation, you rebuild your defenses, etc.
You may be out of business because of the hack.
I would say even that statistically, if I'm not mistaken, 43% of small medium enterprises, they go out of business within 6 months after a big successful hack, right? So it's not like peanuts. It's roughly the half of companies they could go out of business.
I mean, it's serious, because it depends on the level of attack you were the victim of. But if it includes data of your customers, and depending on the industry you're in, but it could be very, very ugly consequences.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about.
But this is only the first cohort. Who was already hacked, and the second, maybe we simplified too much because there are 3 cohorts. The first one we just discussed, the one who had experience of being hacked. The second one is if it is demanded by anybody, right, that you need to care about your cybersecurity. And historically, to have a pen test report says to most of the peers on the market that you care about cybersecurity, so it is demanded very often. So it's a compliance, basically. And only the third one is the request when the company becomes mature in cybersecurity and they understand that the next logical step is to test their defenses in order to find, the gaps and points which they could improve. Actually,
cybersecurity might sound fancy, and you might think that this is something for banks or for fintechs, right? But cybersecurity is for all the businesses out there. So if you don't do cybersecurity, you're in trouble. But we are here to help you.
Fine.
So
I'm Googling for the statistics, and it's actually not 43. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, it's 60% of small, medium businesses, they go out of business. They close companies within 6 months of being hacked.
Out of shame.
Yeah. The consequences of cyber attacks, they become more severe in general. And what we see, we used to work with large enterprises most of our lifetime, with banks, with governments, with healthcare, with companies who have 1,000 and more people. And it's not even the trend, it's the fact that most of those companies are being hacked using the supply chain attack vector, which means that all these big companies, they have partners, clients, trusted peers who work with them, even like a guy who changes the ink in your printer in the office, right? He comes to you regularly, maybe not each week, but each month, and he spends some time in the office, he has equipment, and nobody questions what he is doing with all this stuff, on the table when he's repairing the printer, and he spends hours in office, right, or at least an hour. Why can't this guy just put a USB stick into some neighboring computer in your office, right? So this supply chain attacks, this makes a big pain in the ass for cybersecurity departments in big companies. And hackers do understand that the majority of small, medium enterprises, they underestimate, they underinvest into cybersecurity in general. So it's a very easy target for them.
But the new trend is for all small and medium businesses who work with large enterprises to be going through security certifications and be improving their cybersecurity. So the situation is changing.
You, by the way, also passed certification.
Of course.
In Stackbov, right?
So
you're a startup, and despite that, you already invested. I know what it's like to spend time on cybersecurity, and especially achieving certification. It's a tough job, and especially when you're small. Did you have any, showstoppers with some particular opportunities which stopped you from, winning the deal if you don't have the certification, or it was more a proactive approach to achieving the certification, just to avoid such potential cases in the future?
So we are a cybersecurity startup. We help businesses managing their identities, and from the very beginning, the very foundation of our technology was all about being secure and safe. So we planned the certifications from the very first days. So it was not something was a surprise for us. Okay. So we were prepared for that, and we were working towards that. And still, it took a lot of time to to check all the boxes for a security certificate. When you build your product, and even if it's a cybersecurity space, you know about all the threats, you know about all the potential like risks there might be, and you want to protect yourself, right? So you put this like protections in your architecture. You leverage ZeroTrust principles all over the place.
TrustNoOne.
TrustNoOne.
Sorry for that. So you say it was not a surprise. It was a planned part of your basically business development strategy. Yeah. Because it's a contribution into the trustworthiness of the company in general, right?
I mean,
but you're a cybersecurity startup. Would you say it's fair for not cybersecurity companies also to approach certification on the early stages?
Absolutely. I mean, the sooner you do that, the better. And we see the trends like this. The companies start to do this sooner and sooner, and even like very soon after foundation, like even our peers from Techstars Seattle cohort, which we did in 2023, like I think more of the half of the businesses, even from the state where there were just like few employees, they started to pursue the certification. And specifically the SOC 2, it's standard now in the US for any business to show that they are secure, that they have all the procedures in place. So I think we're probably going to do an additional episode on SOC 2 and other certification security, right, where we talk about...
Very interesting. I see our customers struggle when they're choosing what particular certification they would like to pass. Either it's ISO 27K, or it's SOC 2, or some industry-specific thing. Plus, in European Union, there are many new regulations appeared apart from GDPR. But let's get to the penetration testing. Did you do it during the compliance?
Of course, yeah. So that was a part of the certification. So if you want to get SOC 2, that penetration testing is the necessary part. But let's talk more about the penetration testing, like which types of penetration testing they are. And so again, like from the point of view of the top executive, like what should I know as a executive in a company or in a small medium enterprise about the penetration testing?
Well, it's a brave new world. I mean, the penetration testing, the sub-industry in cybersecurity itself, which is the security assessments, and the first one which comes to the one's mind, it's penetration testing. There are numerous ways of how you could do that. And basically, this is what divides good penetration testing companies from bad ones, that the good ones, they focus on business goals. And it's not only about, hacking using your laptop, hacking some particular website or whatever you're testing. It's about explaining to business the business risks which emerge from cyberspace, which you have. This means that, the first stage of cybersecurity assessment, particularly pen test, is scoping. And it's not only about selecting what particular pieces of infrastructure are included to the scope, it's also about defining the scenarios and the expectations of what you're trying to deal with. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons why I usually do not recommend to start your cybersecurity journey from penetration test. This is one of the reasons, but not the only one. Because you're barely capable of explaining what particular scenarios you want to have. You ask, okay, hack me and show me. You choose the way. And obviously, it's easier for cybersecurity firms to select that approach which is quicker, which is easier, which is low-hanging fruit, basically. So first, before asking for a pen test, you should basically close your low-hanging fruits by yourself, and there are different means. But getting back to your question, what are the types? Traditionally, there are three big main categories of penetration testing, and it's the colors of the box. You have the black box, the gray box, and the white box, meaning that black is the level of knowledge which adversary or ethical hacker in our case have before they start the engagement. So the black box means we know only basically the name of the firm or the URL, and that's it, and we're asked, okay, do what you can do, right? And this approach is great, but it's not cost effective very often, because on one side you have the the closest way to how really hackers operate. But on the other hand, you spend too much time on, building the customer profile, understanding how everything works, and this is the time which is paid by the customer. So that is why other approaches also exist. The gray box is that you know something, and the white box that you know everything, basically. With knowing everything, it's much more easier on the scoping stage to prepare scenarios and all this stuff.
So basically, like if going to the real life, the black box testing is like how the hacker from the outside would attack you, right? So he knows very little about you, maybe just about your name of the company and what you do. Then the gray box, it could be that they somehow related to a company, right? But not very closely. I don't know, maybe a competitor.
They could have an account in your, let's say you have a SaaS application which you sell to your clients. So during the gray box phase, we often ask, okay, give us a regular user account for your app, so we could also digest and see how it works.
So let's say like the gray box, the scenario could be your, competitor just registering in your product and knowing a lot about your industry, knowing a lot about you, right? They don't exactly know like how it's done inside, like what systems you have, but they have quite a few pieces of information about how everything works. And then the white box testing could be your employee or someone who penetrated in your company and working, and you kind of trust them and you don't expect them to hack you, and then they, being inside your organization, they start hacking you, right?
Yes and no. A little bit, because for instance you have a platform with open registration which is available from web. We wouldn't call this a gray box because we could register ourselves there, right? But when it comes to some restricted areas, let's take some financial app, when before actually having access to real features, not just to register to see the interface, but to transfer funds, to open deposit or something like that, you usually need to pass some KYC procedure. It takes time, you need to be a real person, etc. So in such particular cases, we ask, let's say, bank to provide us temporary test accounts, and this falls in our terminology under the gray box penetration test.
I meant like when you're a competitor and you're a real company and you have other real companies and like you work on this market already and you might doing some reconnaissance on your competitor, and you might ask one of your like subsidiaries or other companies just to register the account, go through KYC, get the accounts, right? So you have time and you know about the company. This kind of not like immediate account creation, but some like those more complicated scenarios, right? But I agree.
And these three types of pen tests, it's only one scale of classification, I would say, because we have multi-dimensional approach in a sense. Again, pen test could be delivered in so many ways that it's very hard to classify it in a simple classification strategy. Gray box, black box, and white boxes, these are common things which travel through decades to nowadays, right? We always had these approaches, but also there is a specific around particular target which you're focusing, because when it comes to all organizational assets to be tested, it's usually too many of those. It's too expensive to test qualitatively each of them. So we start to focus on either web penetration testing, mobile, Wi-Fi if you're thinking about testing your office, or maybe social engineering, like a separate engagement just to test how your people behave, how effective is your current educational system within the organization, etc., etc.
TrustNoOne.
Yeah. Then it goes APIs, right? Everything is interconnected now. APIs is a new boom for the last 5-7 years. Most of apps could be easily interconnected with other apps by using APIs. And API security is a big issue which requires lots of attention right now. So we often being asked not to have any social engineering type of things, not to have a penetration test against mobile apps or infrastructure, external perimeter or whatever it is, but particularly to test API. So we get the Swagger or Postman or whatever it is, where we see the API calls, all these functions basically which API could kind of be triggered with, and it's a complex type of engagement, especially when the API has like hundreds and more endpoints, the functions which it provides. So yeah, web, mobile, API, social engineering, these all could be separate ones. Then it goes red teaming. It also could be a part of this first classification we had, like black box, gray box, white box, and red teaming, or it could be a subtype of all of them. Red teaming essentially means that we act as aggressive as potentially possible, emulating, as close as possible the real hackers. So we really hack. It's not like we do not omit some risky
So you don't have the safe word, right?
Yeah, you don't have the safe word for red teaming. But usually what it tends in 2025 is that red teaming becomes a continuous engagement compared to pentest. Pentest is one-time job, you did it, and then you need to do it again in some time. While red teaming, it's basically, you have a blue team as a SOC team, right? The team which protects you in operational manner. So they daily exercise within your infrastructure, trying to find behavioral anomaly, etc. And red teaming, they test this blue team basically. They always attacking them.
So it's a bit of confusion probably with these colors, because we know like we have this like white hat hackers, right?
Yeah.
Or white hoodie hackers.
Yeah.
So the good guys, or the ethical hackers, like all this synonyms,
Yeah.
right? So the good guys, you give them consent, you give them permission, right, to do the bad things to you and to your company. And then there was just like black hat guys,
Yeah.
right, in the black hoodies. So the bad guys who actually want to steal something from you, who want to do the bad things to you, right? And then out of the sudden we have this red guys and the blue guys,
and we also have this color of boxes which doesn't correspond to the color of hats. So yeah, we love colors in cybersecurity.
but this like red guys and blue guys, they are actually the white guys, right? So the red team and the blue team, they are under the white hat
Everything
team.
what we discuss is the white hat type of job, right? So because it's a one-way ticket when you take the black hat job basically, right? So you violate the law, and you could earn much more money, but you definitely will go to jail, sooner or later. So, unless
you are exceptional, and then government catches you and say like,
no,
you work for us.
They catch you, then they put you in jail, and then you start working for them.
Exactly.
So jail is inevitable. So yeah, everything what we talk about is the terminology for ethical hacking, for white hat hackings. You see, you confused even me.
White hoodie hackers.
White hoodie. Let's keep this one. I like it. But you have black cap.
It's actually gray.
Yeah.
And it says, I'm a crew, so you can trust me, and then I'm going to go to your...
TrustNoOne.
And then I'm going to go to your facility and say, hey, I'm just a janitor. I want to clean the floor here. May I? And then I just go there and just plug in the USB drive, and I'm in.
Yeah, I would say that out of all cybersecurity projects and types of engagements which we have, whether it's virtual CISO, continuous one, the SOC, the pentesting, in particular social engineering, is the most fun. It's sometimes it's so engaging and so exciting when you understand that you're not doing a bad thing. You're
doing the bad thing, but you will not be punished for that.
And you would even be paid for that. But really, when you study the target, when you study the profile of people whom you need to manipulate, when you study the infrastructure and fighting, the weaknesses which you would like to try to exploit, and when, for instance, we come to the facility and say that, hey, we're from Microsoft or whatever, and your internet is working slower lately, right? I bet 99% of people say, well, yeah, it looks like it's slower than it was yesterday. So they let us in just, to some restricted zone when already we could have some socket, some internet socket, some printer, PC, whatever, and we already have, physical access to this. And by inserting the right USB stick, you could do magic with those PCs, and this PC or whatever it is interconnected with the rest of your infrastructure. So we now have access to the infrastructure, and it's a matter of time when we would reach some more important, let's say, servers, PCs, databases, whatever it is.
And now imagine like that most of the companies nowadays, they don't just hide everything in the office, right? You have all your employees all over the place, in restaurants, in kid zones or whatever, and then the laptops might be staying there, and then some guy just coming there and just like when you order the coffee, you already have something in some USB stick penetrated in your
right. And we're doing pen tests for 10 years now and more. And when it comes to social engineering, I always, especially, the first 5 years of doing that, I thought, okay, it couldn't work forever. I mean, we use the same techniques or very similar techniques from one project to another project, and it still works. And it should stop working over time. I was thinking like that. But reality is that people are not evolving so fast, right? So we still remain the same species as we used to be 100 years ago, right? So psychologically, we change, the mindset changes, but the patterns and the core biological instincts and all this stuff remains the same. That is why the manipulation as an industry, I would say, as a subject, it still works and it still uses the same methods as always used. For instance, we had a case when we were asked to have a black box / red teamish type of thing when we were testing Wi-Fi, security, social engineering, and everything, most of the things which we usually do. And the office of this company, it was located on the first floor of the business center building, and we put our very recognizable white Jeep on a huge tires in front of the office, in front of the front door of the office, and it was staying there for 3 or 4 days because we had a special equipment there to test Wi-Fi. We have antennas.
Like hackers.
It was almost like a sticker. This is suspicious, but people didn't say anything for 4 days. And then we had a photo of this Jeep, taken in front of the building where the sign with the customer name was on, and we had it in the report. And then only when people start to seeing the report, okay, so this was the problem. This was the part of the problem. It's very interesting to observe, how people react. And at this particular company, they spent and invested time into educating people. But it's always not enough. It's always not enough because of our psychology. We tend to forget risks.
To trust people too much.
We tend to trust, and we
don't trust them.
And we tend to, when you pass the life safety training, the common one with anti-fire systems, fire alarm systems, the emergency exits, where the X is heading to be able to, do an exit.
Kill your teammate.
Maybe it's in your company. We don't do like that. But you understand much more better what is the physical risk is, what is the fire risk, right? You see the fire, and let's say you see the fire on the news, and you start thinking, okay, where is the emergency exit in my office, so I would know about that in case of emergency. But when it comes to cyber, most people, they don't see and they don't feel how this risk would impact and what is the consequence. And because it's not their business, it's their business, but it's not their professional focus. So we need to explain that. And the second issue is that after you explained it, in a month, because of the way our brain works, you forget about it. You prioritize other things. We are living in the over-intense world. We have too many things happening every day. So you simply, your brain can't keep it for a long time. And this company particularly, they had, I think, quarterly trainings for cyber hygiene. This is the way we call it, cyber awareness, cyber hygiene. And
what do you talk about that on that trainings like?
You engage users. You explain when it comes to cyber hygiene, you need to engage. You need to make it. Yes, also because if this is not entertaining, if it's not engaging,
they're gonna fall asleep.
They go at least. You need to transfer this feeling of importance, right? How you do that? This is actually a very creative work, but you need to explain why it is important, how the real cyber attack happens, that it's not an overnight stuff. It takes time. And usually people play a significant role in these cyber attacks. And how you could spot them, how the particular techniques and practice, what you could do to avoid it, what you could do to help your company and yourself to stop the attack as early as possible.
Let's try to do this with our audience. So
today.
Yeah, let's try to spooky them. Like, why should they care about cybersecurity?
Yeah. Okay. Well, did you know that average attack, it takes 4 to 6 months to finish the attack, to actually from the initiation to the mission accomplished phase.
So if you're not currently under attack, or you were not hacked yet, it doesn't mean that you're not currently under attack, right? Because maybe a few months ago there was already some penetration to your system, and now the attackers might be like doing their stuff to getting closer and closer to the precious stuff.
I would even say there is a huge probability that you are under attack right now. Because the second thing, which as a cyber awareness student, which you should know, is that the way adversaries are working now, it also has changed. If before, let's say 10 years ago, they need to have had an order, so to say, like a deal done, a request from their customer who asks to hack somebody, and only then they started. Now they're working in a different manner. They hack everything they could hack. They take everything which is, which could be classified as low-hanging fruit, because they always find a monetization way how to use it later. So even if now you or your company, it's not a target for somebody, they would still try to attempt hack you, to have control over your infrastructure, to sell it on dark web sooner or later. Or let's say you're a hacker, you hack the computer. You don't know what particular computer you hacked. Let's say it's a mass phishing, it's a campaign without, particular target on some industry or type of companies or type of people. You just try to hack as many computers as possible. So you land on this computer. You don't know what this computer, whom it belongs, what it does, how powerful it is. But very soon you understand, okay, this is a let's say old PC with an old, outdated operating system, which probably belongs to some grandmother, to grandfather. There is not much to do with this computer because she's already or he's already retired. They don't go to office, but they have some savings account on it. So, okay, you will transfer the saving account, and then you would keep using this machine as a botnet node in your botnet, which you use for DDoS attacks, for instance. Another story, you land to powerful computer.
Let's talk about DDoS, right? So denial of service attack or distributed denial of service.
Yeah.
Like, what is that and why it's ugly?
Well, it's not ugly. It's just usually it's just an umbrella to distract from the real things. But just to finish one thought about so if it's a not powerful computer which belongs to somebody who is not working in some enterprise, you just take whatever it has and then use it as a botnet. If it's a powerful computer from some, let's say, gamer, you could mine Bitcoin there, right? Or you could use it to crack passwords, because probably this computer has very powerful graphical card, and graphical cards are used in our business to crack passwords because they do the brute forcing calculations very fast. So, and if eventually you landed to some corporate laptop, okay, you know that, okay, this one belongs to this company. You already, started to build a profile of what you have in this company. And the more computers like that you would have, the easier it would be to sell to somebody like a, controlled environment of that company to the interested hacker. And DDoS, answering the second question.
No, wait. I just got a very interesting insight. So I was just started to wonder, like, do hackers have CRMs as well? Like, they have the CRMs opportunities, like different companies, who do they know, like, what do they know? And like, which is a favorite hacker CRM on the market?
Well, it's not Microsoft Dynamics, I guess, but the real thing is that hackers are also people. They go to office, they have breaks, holidays, vacations, bonuses, medical insurance.
Oh wait, white hackers or black hackers?
Black hackers. It's an industry. They have support. So the black market of cyber attacks is so structured right now. It's particularly a separate industry, and it's large. It's very hard to estimate. But let's say we take the darknet, and the darknet is also very big, the dark web, and it has a marketplace component, right? You could buy anything on dark web marketplace, starting from weapons, drugs, ending up with human traffic and lots of different stuff. But also it has a component of cyber attacks and data for selling. So this is estimated to be around $1 trillion, only this component. The dark web in general, it's multi-trillion-dollar, let's say, marketplace, but the one we deal with is around 1 trillion according to different estimations, while cybersecurity market is $250 billion. So we are 4 times smaller than that industry. So you could imagine the scale. And for instance, one company, hacking company, they develop viruses, and another company, they actually make the attacks. So this first company sells the virus to the second one, and they provide support services. So if your virus, which you just bought, is not working, you have a ticketing system, you have a hot number which you could call and ask for assistance.
Hey, I'm trying to hack this company, but your
I'm going
virus
to
doesn't
continue
work.
the subscriptions next month, So it's big because of the high level of let's say earnings, illegal earnings. It attracts more and more people, and the knowledge is no longer it's open. So you just need YouTube, Google, and you could learn how to hack, right? It's a very easy to enter that market. It's also easy to get into jail on that market, but still, it grows, and it grows faster than the cybersecurity market.
But hopefully, in the future, cybersecurity market will catch up, and then it will be a fair game. But for now, it's a bit risky, right? So too many opportunities. The hacking became too easy. So that's why it should be prepared and it should be protected as much as possible. And if you haven't yet, please do.
You know what we're fighting with, or not fighting, what we're hearing from our clients very often is that whom we are interesting for. I mean, who is interested to hack us? We're a small company. We don't have millions of dollars in our accounts. Why? It doesn't make sense to hack us. And in reality, it makes sense to hack you because, as we just discussed, they would always leverage whatever technology under their control is. They always leverage it. And unfortunately, in 2025 and beyond, there is no kind of safe industries, no safe words. It's you're always under the risk, and it's just the matter of time what would happen first. Either the black hat guys come to you, or you invite the white hat guys.
With cybersecurity hackers, you give them consent, right?
Yeah.
So they can do
Absolutely.
that. And they try to do the bad things to you, but they will stop.
We sign all legal papers where customer explicitly states that they're okay of us hacking them. And without that, we do not start the project because it's important.
How difficult it is to make sure that your employees are well-intended and they behave well, right? Because you give them consent to hack some company. Like, how can you be sure as an executive of the cybersecurity company that your employees are well-behaved?
Well, it depends on the company size. I would say this is one of the major parameter. And while the most cybersecurity features which company could have, they tend to be worse when you're smaller. So if you're a small company, it's harder for you to build robust security protections, controls, because it costs money, resources, focus. It just costs time of your people to make it happen, make it work. While at big enterprises, you have structured access. The smaller the company is, the more versatile accesses people have, less structured, no role-based access control systems, etc. And the bigger you get, you have departments, divisions, head of departments, and each of them, they have different accesses. But if we're talking about penetration testing and particularly social engineering, the one advantage smaller companies have over big companies is that in smaller ones, people know each other. And if you approach as a hacker, approach them with social engineering, particular phishing attack, let's say, and it is not a spam phishing. You send a couple of emails to different people. They probably are sitting in the same open space, and they could interact and say, "Hey, John, see what I got? It looks like suspicious." And somebody else will say, "Yeah, it's suspicious. I got the same one. Okay, let's discuss it with our CTO, and maybe we shouldn't click there, right?" While with the bigger company it tends to be less horizontal connections between people.
How you as a cybersecurity company executive can be sure that your employees who do the pen testing for your clients, that they will be well behaved, that they will not do something harmful?
First of all, we do a very comprehensive background check for everybody who comes. It's not a secret that most of penetration testing firms, they cooperate with some legal
security services,
and with some special services, let's say, because they always lack resources and they ask for our help very often. So we have contacts over there and we always do the background check. Second, we pay a lot. So, if the background check, the psychological check, all those interviews which we do with our pen testers, they pass all of those, there is a high chance that they have already made a decision that they are on the white side. They're not going to turn black. They are offered with a very attractive salaries and bonus systems. And we're always keeping in mind this risk. But, the longer you work with people, the longer you have the traction, the background checks and all this stuff, this risk drops over the time. But yeah, there are companies which do not, penetration testing companies which do not dedicate enough attention to this question, right? So sooner or later this could happen in any company, I guess, but not in ours.
Because I was the other day I was watching something on YouTube, and there was some guy promoting his courses for how to become cybersecurity expert in 6 months and how to land your first cybersecurity job in 6 months. That doesn't matter if you don't have any degree, maybe you were receptionist or some other non-technical worker, and then you want to get a job in cybersecurity because it's hot, it's a lot of demand right now, right? Yeah. And he was promoting courses how to get from zero to a cybersecurity expert job in 6 months. So yeah, it's another question for the companies, how to be sure that the people who are responsible for their security have the enough level of education and experience and the level of trust.
Yeah.
However, you cannot trust anyone, but the
trust
level
no one. Be careful and trust no one.
Stay tuned. Second part of this episode is coming soon.